So Google, in its infinite wisdom, decided we're going to launch a woke writing function that touts inclusive language. So we're going to talk about what you shouldn't be saying anymore. What words are deemed not inclusive enough and what are just outright no-goes. That's what we're talking about today here on News for Reasonable People. Do we really need a woke filter for our writing? Hey, don't say that. Might not be inclusive. Apparently we do. Google has said, yeah, okay, you write this word. Maybe you're better off writing this word. That's what we're doing. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies. I read the news. Let's get into it. Google launches woke writing function. When are people going to realize that when you go woke, you go broke? There seems to be a consistent pattern of that. Many corporations haven't figured that out. Disney being the most recent one. I thought the Ron DeSantis thing, where he rolled out his idea, he went ahead and did it. The rest of his folks in his state are like, yeah, that's what we're talking about. And then the other side goes, oh, don't say gay, even though that's not really what it's about. But, you know, trying to weaponize their end of the whole argument. Don't say gay. Yeah, that's not really about not saying gay, though. That's not the point here. It's about not teaching weird stuff to your kindergartner through third grader about sexual orientation, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Since when has that been a thing for kindergartners? All right. You're going to learn to write your ABCs and learn about transgenderism. Yeah. Wild. Glad that didn't come out when my kids were little because I would have had a fit. Like, what? You doing what? You're not going to school. You're just going to go to work with dad. Dad will teach you everything you need to know. No, but it's got to be better than the damn schools, right? Google's wrote out a new inclusive language function that is intended to steer clear its users away from here's the kicker, what it deems to be politically incorrect words like landlord and mankind. Okay, so landlord probably has a derivation back from the slave days. I don't know. It's the only thing I can come up with. I could have Googled it if I really cared, but I don't think anybody really states landlord. How many times have I read landlord or leasee in a lease? Everybody knows what it means. Yeah, it's there. If at one time it had a meaning, otherwise, okay. Do we kill it now? It seems awkward. And mankind. Humankind? Humanity? We're supposed to use words like those instead of mankind. What about womankind? Do we have to get rid of that one too? Or is that inclusive enough? Or no? They just said mankind, not womankind. I don't know. Mankind, okay, you got the word man in there. And apparently man is not a word we're supposed to be talking about. Google Docs introduced the woke feature this month that shows pop-up warnings to people typing in words or phrases considered to be non-inclusive, such as policeman, fireman, or housewife. Okay, policeman. I get that. It doesn't say policewoman. And yes, women are police as well. If I was a female cop, what would I prefer to be called? Policewoman? I don't think so. Because I think the way this originally started is all cops were men, right? I mean, let's just be brutally honest. All cops were men. They were called policemen. Do you want to be called a policewoman? I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you're a female policewoman, policeman, whatever you are. But we kind of know what that means. I don't think you ever say policeman and mean it as a diss to women. That's not what we're trying to do here. Just identifying something. All right, fireman. All right, same thing. You got firewomen out there. All right, so are you offended when somebody says fireman? I am not, however. I am also a man, so I stand on this side of the argument. I'm just trying to see what's reasonable here. And maybe maybe we shouldn't be using the words policeman and fireman because they have the word man in them. And, men are politically not correct in any way, shape, or form today's society. It's what we're doing. Or housewife. Okay. Is there a derivation from housewife that I'm just unaware of? Is it derogatory? Maybe it's not inclusive enough from the standpoint of it doesn't really give the opportunity for a man to run the house house husband. Is that even a thing? I mean, no, I want to say no. Is that a thing? I guess it is, because we're talking inclusivity. I just don't even know which way to go with some of these words. Do you know what I mean? It's like I read them and I'm like, all right, what's the problem there? I don't really get it. Maybe that's my point. Bill Burr has a whole bit where he says, you know what happens? You just get too old and the words that you're used to saying, they're out of date and you get in trouble whenever you open up your mouth. I think that's what's going to happen to me. At some point in time, I'll just be like at the very beginning of my podcast, and I'll just get cut off. You said too many things, Sean. You said too many non-inclusive things. The algorithm doesn't like you. You're old and you're done. That's what I think is going to happen. And then I'm done. The online word processor's algorithm will alert them that their chosen terms may not be inclusive to all readers. Okay. So are we supposed to just hone our writing into everybody, or do we just write what we want to write? Kind of feels like we're being dictated to, censored a little bit, is what I would say. And then it goes a step further by suggesting an alternative, more inclusive word to use. For example, it might suggest humankind instead of the gendered mankind, or police officer instead of policeman. All right, how about cop? How about we just go right down to abbreviate it? I like short words. Short words with less syllables to me, because you got less ways to screw that up. I had a word the other day that I didn't know in a podcast. And if you're ever watching me read some of these news stories and you come up against a really long word, sometimes I will just put my own word in there because that saves me from being made fun of for mispronouncing it or not really knowing what it is. And that's how I kind of, get past that roadblock. Just don't know the word. Scoot on past it. Police officer instead of policeman. Okay, I think we're going too far here. Just being reasonable. I don't ever hear of anybody saying, I was really offended because I was called a policeman. Is that a thing? I don't think it is. Instead of policeman. The new AI-powered language feature called assistive writing has been widely panned by critics who have accused the search engine of being both intrusive and preachy. Because this is coming from a certain perspective, right? And I obviously don't share that perspective. I think these words are ridiculous, and I think we need to move past it because there are so many other things going on in the world that demand our attention more. So people dying of overdoses every single day, people shooting each other in the streets willy-nilly, carjackings, hijackings, break-ins. We just had a big report this weekend here in Seattle of the dash and, where you break into somebody's car and take a bunch of stuff at the trailheads of our parks and our hiking trails have had a massive increase of smash and grabs, I guess they call them. Smash and grabs. We got stuff more important than, did you use the right word? Did you use an inclusive word? I'm not saying you go out there and just throw out some just ridiculous word that you're going to get hammered on for. But we're getting a little deep here. We're getting. Vice writers found that when this is from Vice. Vice writers found that when they attempted to type in the words annoyed and motherboard, these seemingly innocuous terms were flagged for being insufficiently inclusive. Where's the father on the motherboard? You know what that means. It's a big board on a computer and every kind of runs everything. There's the motherboard. It's like the mother hen. How about that? Should we not use that either? Just so many words with so many meanings that in their original derivation, it was just kind of like, all right, And now all of a sudden, you don't say motherboard. What are you going to say? Annoyed. I have no idea on that one. Why would annoyed be flagged for insufficiently inclusive? Who are we ignoring with annoyed? I don't know. Some linguist out there is going to tell me, right? You're going to send me a little message. Meanwhile, a transcription of an interview with former Ku Klux Klan leader David Duke, where he uses the N-word and says a host of other representable things about black people, raised no red flags. That's interesting. It's kind of like the subway shooter. A subway shooter like 2 weekends ago. Maybe 3 weekends ago. Whenever. It was in April sometime, right? Mid-April. And he had a YouTube channel and he had all kinds of interesting things to say that wouldn't make it through this filtering process at all. In fact, if anybody else pretty much said the same things and, had YouTube content based on hating particular races and possibly eliminating, different races, those videos would be taken down, but they weren't in this instance. And I find that really interesting that some people have a hall pass and some people don't. In this case, David Duke of the Ku Klux Klan said stuff and gets past the filter. It's weird, right? Crazy stuff. Google's popular free online document editor raises issues with Martin Luther Jr. King's iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, suggesting that the civil rights leader should have replaced the fierce urgency of now with the intense urgency of now. Let's take a look at that. Fierce and intense. They're just two different words. Neither one of them is non-inclusive. Neither one of them is derogatory, I don't believe, unless there's some derivation I am unaware of. Fierce and intense, it's a writing style, right? Okay, but, non-inclusive, something went sideways somewhere there. Google Docs algorithm also took issue with President John F. Kennedy's use of the phrase, "for all mankind." Hard no-go, JFK, hard no-go. Can't use that. Not inclusive enough. Even though you used it in your inaugural address in 1962? Something like that. And it was, and so Google Docs, they helpfully suggested swapping it out for all humankind. Not mankind, humankind. All right. That is probably more inclusive. Does it matter? Does it really matter if you say mankind versus humankind? When you say mankind, when I hear the word mankind, I don't think of, we're just saying man. We're just excluding women. I'm thinking of men, women, children of either sex. When I hear humankind or mankind, I think of everybody, right? So somebody is saying mankind, not inclusive enough. All righty then. Well, okay. Okay, yeah. And even Jesus Christ did not get a pass from the search engine, with the writing feature taking a swipe in the use of the word marvelous in the Sermon on the Mount and suggesting that the Son of God should have used lovely instead. Okay, so we're micromanaging on an ultimate level here. Some of these I get, okay, just from a reasonable standpoint, I think they're stupid. And I think it's ridiculous. And I think it is intrusive. And I think we're going to get down to a vocabulary of about 4 words when we're all said and done here. But okay, if that's what it takes, all right, I'll play ball. Okay. So no, we're not doing that. Marvelous instead of lovely. Both are good words. They're strong words. I actually prefer marvelous. It sounds a little bit more descriptive. Lovely just says something like, when somebody asks you, how does this make my ass look? And you say, lovely. I don't know. You never say marvelous. You say lovely. I don't know. We're just making up stuff at this point, right? A Google spokesperson said that its controversial assisted writing feature is undergoing ongoing evolution. What does that mean? I don't even know. Nor do I want to know. Google. Assisted writing uses language understanding models, which rely on millions of common phrases and sentences to automatically learn how people communicate, the representative said. This also means that they can reflect some human cognitive biases. Between lovely and marvelous? All right. It's beyond me. It's beyond my writing. Our technology is always improving, and we don't yet and may never have a complete solution to identifying and mitigating all unwanted word associations and biases. You know what I would like to have eliminated? When we reduce our humankind language down to like letters, like LOL. Yeah, I'd like to eliminate that. Just talk in full words so I know what you're meaning. And instead of doing NVM, just say, hey, never mind. Yeah, I know it can be done because I've done it up through age 53. And you know what? Been able to communicate very adequately with the other human beings. Or, I'm sorry, that's probably not inclusionary enough. Mankind. I've been able to communicate with mankind. That just makes me sound like an egotistical maniac. I talk to mankind over here. I now sound like Ye, right? Kanye. He does talk to mankind in his head. We know how that's working out. Not good. I hope he gets some help. I hope he's able to work out some of his issues. All right. So that's what we've got here. We've got Google putting filters on our vocabulary and telling us, well, maybe you should switch out this word for that word because not inclusionary enough. Again, I go back to, if you live long enough, you're going to just live to be too old. And somehow I feel like at age 53, that's coming faster and faster. It's coming faster and faster of how when I grew up and maybe how you grew up, maybe even if you're younger or maybe a little bit older than me, how some of those things are just rapidly being pushed out the front door or the back door, just being pushed out of our normal lives. And they're telling us, use this word instead. And you're like, why? That makes no sense. It's half the word this other one is, and it's not inclusionary enough. Literally, that's what it's not inclusion. I didn't include everybody. I'm not trying to exclude everybody. And this is a more descriptive word of what I'm talking about. So what do you want me to do here? I guess just write the way that you write and realize you're going to upset some folks who may be concerned with inclusionary versus non-inclusionary. How about the whole pronoun thing? How about pronoun? How about on Instagram, you can now put I would like to be identified as this pronoun. Well, what sex are you? Because that's kind of how this works. Oh, no, it doesn't, Sean. That's not how this works. That is not how life is going forward so far. We got 78 different sexes. We're going to talk about them to our kindergartners through third graders because they need to know what all those things mean. They need to know. I mean, you got to start them early because otherwise this mankind or humankind, it's not going to work out, right? Oh, we got a lot of just crazy talk out there about stuff that really doesn't have much of a meaning. I mean, if you want to take landlord out of there because that's had some original derivation, okay. How about you use leaseor, leasee? You know, get right down to a legal term. I can live with that if that's a real thing. But policeman versus police person or, cop, I don't know. That just feels like we're focusing on the wrong things. It feels like we're focusing on words instead of how about public safety? What about if we focused on that? People not getting hurt in their communities, people not shooting each other in their communities. What about that? Never going to work. Far too reasonable. That's it for me on this one. You can only beat this word thing down so many times. But I hope you've had a marvelous time. I hope you've had a lovely time. If you see a policeman, policewoman, give them a big hug because they're lovely. Maybe they're marvelous. I don't know. Use all these words. Just do Kamala Harris and do word salad and throw them all out there and see what sticks. Thanks for being here. We'll catch up soon. Talk then. Bye for now.